Hey, what's up everybody? This is Chris of Digital REM, and in this video we're going to talk all about fonts and how you can use them for your brand. So with that being said, we're just going to hop right into it. Let's go. Alright, so boom, here it is. This is one of the sites that I like to go to when it comes to fonts. Fonts are very, very important for your brand, and having that consistency across your brand when it comes to creating designs, your website, all the visual elements that make up your brand, your visual identity. Fonts is a part of that, and fonts are important, just as important as your logo, your colors, and things like that. Fonts are just that important because they also have their own characteristics that resonates with your audience. So with that being said, once you establish your brand identity, now you want to find a font that goes along with it. So with that being said, we're just going to poke around how some of the fonts have different spirits. At the end of the day, that's the main thing you want to think of. Like, what's the spirit of this font? What does it make me feel like? What would it make my audience feel like? What spirit does it have? And you can start to see like the differences in the spirits of some of these fonts. Again, I'm introducing the idea of how different visual elements have different spirits that would propel your brand to the next level of communication. So that being said, let's just hop right into it, and we're at Adobe Fonts, and I'm going to share some other resources outside of Adobe that you can also use the 5 fonts. So with that being said, let's go. We have here at Adobe Fonts, fonts.adobe.com, you have the ability to search for all the fonts you want to have, right? All fonts, recommendations, fonts, packs, foundries. Let's go to the recommendations. Let's see what Adobe recommends at this time, just so we can make the list shorter right now, right? We're gonna find what's trending. All right. Well, let's just go down the line here. So we have Nexus here. Nexus is definitely Nexus is the font looks kind of bold. Let me see. It definitely reminds me, like, you know, those books for dummy books. Like, definitely just straight bold text, right? Very simple. And that's when you know your brand is on point, because again, like, just how this reminds you, like, for dummies or whatever type of other logo that kind of looks like this, they use the same exact font so you can identify them. That's why fonts are important. Like, these are able to say, like, oh, that looks like this font, because they use it over and over and over again. So again, you have fonts like this. I wouldn't use this for my brand, as far as, even though some people might think it looks great, but you want something that's super legible. You want something super legible. If it's a fashion, like something like this, like headline stories, I don't like how every time I like scroll over it like dims it out, but because I'm trying to point it out to y'all. But like the fashion stories, like the headlines, again, you might have a fashion magazine that you do, right? And you can go on and on down the list. These are some of the suggestions that were suggested, right? And some of these may be great. Like these may be great for, like, you know, you're just doing a highlight type of font. Like you're just, you might be designing a invite for a wedding or something, and you might want to do something like this. It's not necessarily a brand thing. It's just, okay, I just want something elegant that looks good for this one-time thing. So if you are a designer, then some of these fonts might work well for the actual design, right? And I feel like they definitely labeled them pretty nicely. Like this skate one is labeled pretty nicely. Like, it definitely looks like a grungy skate type of font, right? It's like a podcast type of thing, right? I'm gonna scroll back up to the top. Let me go to the home real quick. And again, you can scroll down through all of these different fonts and find which ones work for you. So let's say you found a font. Let's go to new releases. Let's say you find a font that you like. If you are in Adobe, if you have Adobe, I tend to lean more towards fonts that are just very strong and bold. And strong and bold being like they're bold and they're just very structured. They just have a strong foundation like this. I'm gonna just push this real quick. Just a strong foundation. And boom. If you like this font, if you have Adobe, you just simply hit add font, right? I think I already have a font like this, so I'm not gonna hit add font. But again, if you find something you like, you just hit add font and it'll throw it into your font library and you can use it in your designs. So boom, that's one thing. So more than anything, you want to, I'm introducing the fact that each individual font has its own personality, and you want to find a personality that resonates with your brand identity for your brand. So here's some other resources that you can use for finding fonts. You have Google Fonts. Again, I used Adobe strategically because the fonts are kind of have a little thumbnail to them and they're a little labeled different. So now we get into more like what the fonts usually, the font library would look like. So let's turn the filters off. Or here we go. We're just gonna scroll down past this. Let's say Digital REM. Like let's say Digital REM, we're looking for a new font. Just so you can see like how fonts can make it feel different, right? Now just look at them. Like this is a nice one. I like Rubik. Again, I like structured fonts, very bold. But again, you can have something like Merriweather. Have something a little more digital here. And at the end of the day, a lot of them are similar. But see, this one's just it's shorter. It's shorter. It's little things that just make them different, right? This one looks like a kiosk somewhere or something. Again, you can go down the list and find your font that you feel resonates with your audience. This is kind of the one that this is like Digital REM actually. Very close to it. Again, these are all great, like these are all great if you want to call them basic fonts or simple fonts, right? They're not too out there. They're not too crazy, but they can get a little more, like script, handwritten. So like digital here, stuff like that. The beautiful thing about Google Fonts usually that they are safe to use as far as licensing and copyright. So Google Fonts are usually safe to use across the board, right? And then they're usually easy to find, especially if you're building out a website. You don't have to try to import them into your website, right? Usually. Again, you have all of these different ones. That one's different than that one. You have sites like The Font. That's DAFONT.com. The font is where you get some like super unique fonts, right? But these are fonts that are usually created by somebody and will sometimes require licensing. Sometimes you want to play, like let's say I wanted this California here. It says free for personal use over here. You can look and see. We're not gonna go into it, but it's free for personal use. That one was. I get off of that. Boom. Right? So you can tell which ones are used for commercial, which ones you can use for personal, so on and so forth by a little prompt over there. But again, you have so many different options and it actually breaks it down a little more than the others. So let's say you want something cartoony, right? You get a lot more cartoony, fun fonts here, like Looney Tunes. This is just like Looney Tunes. Crayons. It looks like crayon to me. And again, this is a great example. Like, this looks just like a Looney Tunes font. So you can understand how impactful a font can make your brand. People can start to identify that actual font with your brand. And if you want to take it to the next level, you can hire a person to design your custom font for your brand in general, right? Pokemon. That's a unique font that most people can see right when they see it. They know exactly what it is. New cheese looks like Cheez-Its to me, right? Let's go something little. Let's say your audience is Arabic, right? You might have something along this line, right? It might be English, but you might have it just written in a certain way. Or it might be, some type of word that it works both ways. I don't know. But you can go on and on down the line. Let's do Christmas. Let's do boom. You have Christmas fonts. It's like that. And you see they have the spirit of Christmas here. And I use Christmas strategically so you can just see like how just changing the style of the actual font, you'll be able to change the spirit of that font. So again, like we were kind of doing the basics. All of these have different spirits. This is one of the sites like you can get super creative fonts from. You can get super creative fonts to get started. All right. Another site you can do is free fonts. Font Space, my bad. Font Space. And Font Space, again, same concept. Remember, free for personal use. Remember that. So you might not want to use it for your brand, but again, free for personal use. Oh no, I can't type. Boom. And you see it shows it in different ways. Different fonts. Boom. See collections. I like this one. This one reminds me of like a lot of shirts, they're making it in this type of font, actually. That bold right here, that too. So you can figure it out. Highly suggest though, it just depends on your brand, but highly suggest if you are picking a brand font, these fonts are great for one-off, if you want to call them one-off ads or something like that, or graphics. But when it comes to brand fonts, I highly suggest you go back to Google Fonts and just find something that's simple, bold. It can be between bold like this, or something like this, or something that's like a little more serif, something like this, whatever the case may be. But again, you want to consider this, because this is the same font that you're gonna write paragraphs in. So you want it to be legible. You want it to be for people to be able to read it, see it, and identify with it. Now, when in regards to like your logo and the highlight things, you can find a font that kind of goes with the personality. But in regards to like the web design and what you're going to use from emails to websites to information on the flyer to all of the different things that people actually need to read, like, you know, information on, you want to go with something that's very clean, simple, like a Google font. So, boom. Oh, before we even hop out, I thought I had it. There are sites that you might want to get emojis. So emoji, this is a quick bonus, but emojis, if you go to getemoji.com, you can, again, sometimes you might be doing a post and you want to try to find emoji. And I put emojis into fonts because it's just kind of in the same area you're trying to type it up. But emojis, so you can just simply go to get emoji, and usually the way I approach it, you can go search for one, or if they already have one already listed here, you can just copy and paste it. So you can copy that, paste it, and see, it'll paste right into wherever you want to paste it. So boom, just like that. So let's say we want to do a balloon. It's only one balloon, but okay, whatever. Copy that, and we could paste that balloon, right? And that's get emoji. So boom. So boom, there it is. You got to see exactly how to get started with defining your font. Very, very important as well. You want to have these all for your brand identity. These are your visual identity. Going to help your designer, going to help your video editor, going to help everybody across the board to establish that brand's identity. Again, if you were watching the course, if you were a part of the course where we talk about how to build your team in ChatGPT, now those designers are going to have the information necessary to actually implement and continue to get the ball rolling as far as designs go. But then more than anything, you're going to need somebody to actually go in and design it. If you don't have the AI do it, but the AI might be able to do it if you give them enough information as far as the fonts, the colors, things like that. You might be able to have the AI do all of your designs. But if you have somebody actually creating designs for you, now you have it defined, like, hey, this is my font, these are my colors, this is my logo, so on and so forth. Now they know how to design, within what bounds to design, and then you can pretty much, not even have to worry about if they hit the mark as far as your visual identity. Taking the role of the CEO as far as for your business. So that being said, hopefully it's inspired you to do that one thing that takes you closer to your goals. Like I always say, do that one thing that takes you closer to your goals. And all y'all have a blessed day. Later, y'all. Peace.